Kids, come on up. Everyone else, please be seated. How many of you have ever just gotten on your bike or took a walk or got in your car and just drove? Didn't know where you were going, just decided to go somewhere to see where it went. It's kind of interesting to do that, isn't it? What? Lucas, you've done that? How far did you go?
Super far to the ocean.
To the ocean, all right.
Inside the ocean, over to Mexico.
Over to Mexico, wow. And you made it back. How about out there? Anybody still do these kind of trips where you just get in a car and see where the road goes? How many of you actually will program in exactly where you're going into your GPS, therefore hoping to get it right? I do that. Think about that. Are you amazed by the wise men today? That they had no GPS. All they had was one star that said, this is where you're supposed to go. Follow it. Make sure you don't lose sight of it. And eventually it will take you to where you're supposed to be. How many of you would trust one star? The only thing to show you a way. Cole wouldn't, okay. Dante, you would, okay. You would too, huh, Leo? You will not follow the stars.
What if it brought me to the ocean, like in the middle of the sea?
In the middle of the sea? I would hope you could swim. So we think about that. We get the wise men today. Very important people in the Christmas pageant, aren't they? They always show up. But it's pretty rare that in church we get to celebrate them because they're actually supposed to show up tomorrow. They got here early because Father Zelli wanted them to. And the liturgical purists will tell me I was wrong, but I don't care. The other thing that's neat about it is that they brought presents today. Who can tell me what the three presents were? Pat, what was one of them? Myrrh, yeah? Frankincense, that is right. So we got all three. Does anybody, now, one, does those seem like strange gifts to you to give to a baby?
Yes.
Yes? How many of you, if you woke up Christmas morning and there was gold, frankincense, and myrrh under the tree and nothing else, how many of you would be happy?
I'd go nuts. I'd be good with the gold.
You'd be good with the gold. Yes, trade it in. Yes, you'd find one of those gold for cash stores.
Pass the gold.
Yeah.
Pass the gold.
Yep, everybody wants the gold.
Oh, yeah, it's celebrating Three Kings Day.
Oh, they're celebrating Three Kings Day. Okay. So we know that they brought three gifts. Yep, the myrrh was a perfume, or if you're a Monty Python fan, you know that myrrh was a bomb. And you should never bring a bomb to see a baby. But the...
I would do a bomb. You did a bomb to a baby?
Yes, that's exactly what the lady in the movie said. But we had this, so we had three gifts for people that never met this baby, don't know anything about it. And of course, how many of you were here when we were singing the first hymn? Did you pay attention to what you were singing, or did you just start thinking about rubber cigars?
I always do that.
So we had three kings, but they told us in the hymn of the day, why those gifts? Gold, because Jesus was to be king. Frankincense, because we believe Jesus to be God. And myrrh, because eventually he would die for our sins. So, those three gifts, strange things. If I were to ask you to do this, to bring to me only three things that would tell me something about you, what would you bring? You'd bring that, so what would I know about you then?
He likes gold. He likes blowing things up.
Yes.
And I don't know.
That's an interesting thing to think about that, isn't it? If we were to only have three things that we could show people about us, that made a statement about who we are, how we see ourselves, and what we think our future looks like.
First of all, to be honest,
What would you bring? What would be the first thing you would show me?
gold and myrrh.
Gold and myrrh.
So like one things up and like my.
Okay. How about down there? Anybody got an idea? What do you think you bring?
And a time bomb that goes up in 1 second when you start
Okay. Paul, what would you show me?
Give me cash.
You give me cash, because cash shows me what about you?
I won't buy a present.
Oh, you won't buy a present? Well, if that's what you're giving, I'll take the cash. Anybody down there? I mean, it's an interesting question to think about. One time I went to a very dear friend of mine's funeral, and instead of all the pictures that they sometimes have up, they had a table with hats. And all the hats were indicative of him. He had his, what's called a beretta, a funny looking hat that priests sometimes wear. He had a fireman's hat.
It's like this.
Yeah, look, it's square with a pom-pom on top
Let's
of
see a
it.
fireman.
Yes, he was. He was
Yeah,
also,
Santa Claus.
he was a colonel in the Air Force, so he had his Air Force Reserve hat. He had his Eagles hat because he was a loyal Eagles fan. I don't know that he's happy up in heaven this morning. He's also had his Phillies hat. And all those things because they were important symbols of who he was, the different hats that he felt he wore. And I struggled this morning to think about what I would put out as three things to say something about me. Part of it might be, I might put my priest collar because even though I have a beretta, I don't really wear it much. I might put my wedding ring because I take my role as a husband seriously. And I probably would maybe put a baseball because I like baseball and I've thrown a baseball with my sons. Those are the things that I value. Yeah. But maybe something to do this afternoon since there's no football game worth watching and the weather's ugly, that maybe we could all think about what are our own personal symbols of who we are. And maybe even to think about what in 2014 would we want people to see about us that would indicate who we are. How do we reveal Christ to others? But most especially, how do we show who we are as people made in the image of God?
I have